Hey, let's get into some simple transitions that we can create in After Effects. We already have a project that we want to bring in, and so let's go ahead and take a look at that. We'll go to File, Import, File, and I have buried around here a project file right here that I know is ready for some simple transitions. So let's go ahead and select that, Import. I'm going to say OK to this. It says unlabeled alpha channel, and that's fine. I'm just going to straight unmatted, and we'll leave it at that. So here we go. I have now a project set up here, my QuickTime file.mov. It also takes other types as well. You're going to take this and you're going to drag it down to your timeline area here. I can press the space bar on my keyboard and preview what I've gotten so far. Make sure that you're dealing with the right file that you should be. And everything plays through just fine. The way this file was set up was really good because it leaves about a second of ease in time here, and as well as some easing out here, and some transition areas at the beginning and end of these different sections, these different scenes. And at the end, there might be room for something there too, as far as transitions go. So let's go ahead and start adding a transition in here. I'm going to go up to Layer, New, Solid. I'm going to choose a color that I want for this, and I'm going to stick with a basic black for now. And all of this is fine. I'm going to click OK. And you notice what it does. It adds a layer. And if I open it up, it's a black solid layer, and it automatically drops it down into my timeline area. So this red line right here represents that black solid. This right here, kind of bluish gray, greenish gray, I don't know what you want to call it, but that represents the video file that you imported first. And what we're going to be dealing with is this. I don't want to mess with this file, so what I can do, or this layer, what I want to do is lock that down. No reason to mess with that at all. And I don't want to accidentally touch it. So I'm going to go here and click that arrow, and it opens up some controls that I can manipulate for this solid. I'm going to transform, and I have anchor point, position, scale, rotation, opacity. So pretty generic transformation tools that you can work with. Opacity is going to be the one that we concern ourselves with today. So let's go ahead and get started here. To make this transition at the start of our animation here, what I want to do is first activate opacity. I'm going to do that by clicking this little stopwatch right here. And my opacity right now is set to 100%, which means I cannot see through this at all. We're going to think about this black solid layer almost like a mask that you can kind of take on and off, or make transparent or not transparent, or opaque, I guess you can say. So I have it set to 100, which is fine. It's going to start off, my film's going to start off with this black cinematic transition happening. I'm going to click on this stopwatch, and it adds this right here, which is a little control that you can use to add or remove keyframes. And it automatically adds one right here on my timeline. So now it's set at 100%, right? Well, I want to fade it in at some point, and I know that I have an ease in of about 1 second in my film, or in my first scene. So I'm going to move to this 1 second mark, and I'm going to create another keyframe, but I'm going to change it to 0. So you see how it faded it there. Now, if you're not exactly sure where is the best point for it to ease in or to transition in, what you can do is turn this black layer off. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to turn this black layer off so I can't see it. I know it fades in at 100% and fades in right about here. And so If you're not sure exactly where you want it to fade in, what you can do is turn this layer off like what I did, and then you can take these keyframes and drag them around where you want them to go. So maybe I want it actually to delay even a little bit, tiny bit longer. So there, I'm going to turn it back on, and I can press the space bar to preview it. That works out pretty nice. So now what I want to do is go to my next point where I want to fade out again. And what I'm actually going to do is lock this area down right here, because I want all of this to be at 0%. So since I'm set at 0%, I'm going to click on this little add keyframe, and that will lock this whole thing down at 0%. I'm going to go up here and let's say I want it to fade in to 100% right here, or fade out, I guess I should say. So 0 to 100. I could add a keyframe right here and make it 100, but that makes it easing out part of the transition a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to move along. I'm going to decide where I want it to come ease back out. And I want it to ease back out right before he starts moving, maybe right when he's blinking his eyes right there. And I'm going to hit the keyframe right there. So this seems weird because I have 0 to 0, but what I'm going to do here is go back to where that transition happens right here from my title sequence to the animation. And I'm going to change this to 100%. And by doing that, it automatically adds it in there. So now it goes 0 to 100, back to 0 again. Okay. Now I'm going to do that same kind of thing down here. I have to decide where do I want it to transition out. Maybe right when he blinks his eyes there. I'm going to lock that one down at 0. I'm going to go, that's where it's going to be 100, but I'm going to pass it up, and I'm going to go to here. Right about there is where I want it to be at 0 again. So I'm going to add that keyframe. Now I'm going to back it up a little bit to that transition right there, and move it to 100. So let's see what that looks like. Fades out, back in, and then my credits roll. Pretty cool. Now let's look at fading it back out again. My credits have rolled. Hopefully you have more credits to yours than what I have. I'm going to lock that one down at 0%. And then it's going to end again at 100%. Let's preview this. Spacebar, fading in, transition, transition, fade out. All right. So that's pretty easy. Let's say we're done with this transition, but you're not too sure about this solid black. Maybe it's too harsh. Maybe you don't want it to be that. Then you want to add a color in there. You can replace this without having to add on a whole new solid layer. You can change the color here. I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to go to replace footage. I'm going to replace it with a solid. And here it lets me go back and I can choose another color or shade that I want to replace it with. Maybe I would rather have this kind of a little bit softer gray. I'll click OK. It automatically changes it here. I don't lose my keyframes. As I play through, you can see how it all still works out. Just doesn't fade out to that really dark black. So that's pretty much it for now. Stay tuned for more videos on how to render this out, or how to render a project in After Effects. And also stay tuned for more tutorials on different effects that we can add to our scene as well. All right, until next time.